Peace, peace, family. I'm back. I want to come talk to the family today about the British Empire and the destruction of Africa and just people of color around the world, period. You know, with the celebration going on now with Meghan Markle and Prince Harry's wedding, you got black people all over the world and the hysteria going crazy. And I'm kind of confused. Like, I'm not going to get hype, do a lot of hollering and screaming, but I'm just not understanding how we're so hype and so happy for these people getting married. Um, they have a history. They have a long history, a very long history of murder, destruction, all throughout Africa, all throughout India. They was complicit in um, siding with America and allied with America in racism. They was the British Eugenics Society partnered with the California Eugenics Society. Um, you had many different things that went on, and I think because we suffer from cultural ignorance, um, we give we give these British bastards a pass. And you today you witnessed a bunch of black traitors in that wedding, and what they're doing is they're using mind control. Um, the the dominant society is using the black celebrity to keep you mentally under their control. They take these black celebrities and they send them to these weddings, and then you got children watching this, and this is what these children, black children, aspire to be. They take Serena Williams and they stand her next to a white man and this white wedding, and they take Oprah and they get Idris Elba and they get all these so-called black celebrities, and they push in the consciousness on this multicultural society the way that they would economically fit white people. Nobody black should ever attend anything associated with the British Empire, ever. We should never be a part of it. I'm not going to get hype. I'm not going to scream today. I'm going to be super calm, because I want the people that tune in and listen to George as I break this thing down. I want you to be able to understand just how diabolical and devilish these people are in their history, how they built their empire off the destruction and blood of Africans. When we're talking about Cecil Rhodes, we're talking about King Leopold, we're talking about their destruction in Kenya. We're talking about, man, I can go on and on as I share my screen. I'm gonna share my screen, and I'm gonna get into a couple of things because I'm not gonna be here long. Peace, Wax Dog. What's happening? I'm not gonna be here long, but I'm just gonna show some of a brief history of the British Empire, how they built their empire. And for some reason, we have a tendency to forget and forgive and move on when it comes to white folks, but we don't forget and forgive and move on when it comes to us. So I'm gonna share my screen and I'm gonna get to work, and I'm gonna actually show. I'm gonna show you guys the history of the British Empire. What I'm gonna do, I'm gonna start off with I'm gonna start off here inside inside the British genocide of East Africa. Yeah, we're gonna start here. Surely it cannot be necessary to go on killing these defenseless people on such an enormous scale. This is Winston Churchill, 1908. Now, they was committing genocide on the Aboriginal people of those lands in Kenya. And that's Winston Churchill basically telling the British Empire basically that we can't just go on just killing these people. Because they was just wiping people out. And for some reason, like, we're not educated in this stuff, so we don't we don't understand just how these people are. When British settlers began pouring into what is now Kenya in 1902, they intended to set up an agricultural colony whose surplus could help pay the cost of other imperial projects in East Africa. To do this, the British needed land and labor, which led them into a series of policy decisions that culminated into a grotesque genocide that history books have largely overlooked. So while everybody was at that wedding, there's a genocidal history to these people that's been overlooked. And some of our people know this history, and we're celebrating with these cracker demons. And we don't even understand these people, man. The Kikuyu genocide took place in the 1950s after a decade, in the 1950s, a decade after the Holocaust. See, they talk about the Holocaust, but they don't break down and explain. They don't break down and explain the Kikuyu genocide. And this was 10 years. This was actually 10 years after the Holocaust, right? And the West promised to never again allow the destruction of entire peoples. Well, the West promised to never allow the destruction of entire peoples, but these were African people who they didn't see as full people. It didn't see them as people. And it saw virtually the entire population of 1.5 million Kikuyu locked up in concentration camps where they starved, beaten, and tortured to death by the tens of thousands. That they terrorized the native colonists, enacted medieval-style public executions, and plummeted the deaths of what a disease immigration can inflict on conquered people. To this day, no serious reckoning has taken place, nor does it seem likely to, as most of the perpetrators are either dead or old enough that prosecutions are virtually out of the question. This then is the secret history of British rule in East Africa. But see, you can enact punishment because the actual British Royal Empire was built off of the destruction of these people. Somebody has to pay, but nobody will ever pay on what they did to the Kikuyu people. Now, this is the scramble for land. This is an image of the cracker in Kenya at the time, and the scramble for land. See, I can go in and I can get upset, and I can talk about the British Empire and the Queen and all the things. But what I want to do is I just want to show you some of the history of these devils and what they did, because this is what they're not showing the people. You know, so this is them in Kenya as they scramble for land. This is Governor Evelyn Baring takes charge of the Kenyan colony at the very beginning of the crisis. So this is this devil, and they show as he's beginning to take charge at the very beginning of the crisis. So British presence in Kenya began a century prior to the genocide, when missionaries, here we go, when missionaries and traders leased land for their projects for the Sultan of Zanzibar in the mid-1900th century. In the late 1800s, the British East Africa Company formed to organize the colony. This is where the Leakey family, the Richard Leakey and the Leakey clan, Harry Leakey, and the grandfather was a minister. He was a pastor in Kenya. And the Leakey family is the ones who say they discovered the bones in South Africa and all the bullshit that I was telling y'all about before. All these white supremacists. When missionaries and traders leased the land for their projects from the Sultan of Zanzibar in the mid-1900s. In the 1880s, the British East Africa Company formed to organize the colony, but it ran into financial trouble almost immediately and folded up within a decade. In 1885, the future nations of Kenya and Uganda became the British East Africa Protectorate, EAP, as an emergency measure. In 1902, control shifted to a foreign office. A new governor was appointed, and a wholesale colonization effort begun. So while they was over there taking the land, they was taking the land for the raw resources that's in Kenya and Uganda. And Uganda is rich in uranium and different resources there, and they were exploiting and murdering Aboriginal people to that land and building an empire. What ain't no telling how much money the royal family has. The plan was simple: flood the land with settlers who will set up farms and then use their surplus to cover the cost of the Uganda Railway, which had just been finished. After that, whatever surplus flew out of the EAP could be used for other initiatives that the colonial office, which had taken over, had in mind, such as conquering Sudan. See, they went into Kenya, basically destroyed those people, made enough money to create an empire, and then they had in mind to go conquer Sudan or putting down the Boer revolt in South Africa. Kenya had a lot of arable land in its hilly central highlands, and its relatively cool temperature made it such that malaria wasn't an issue. Thus, the colonial office decided to start forming here. To kickstart that project, they needed to shove the native tribes. To kickstart that project, they needed to shove the native tribes off of that land and turn them into cheap, preferably unpaid laborers. So they turned them into slaves. And this is all orchestrated by the British Empire. So while y'all up celebrating, the Queen get Prince Harry marrying Meghan Markle or whatever, I'm telling you how they got their empire. And this was off the blood and the destruction and the murder of African people. And they, I'm in Kenya so far. I didn't even get to the other stories, and I'm showing you how they were in Kenya. And I didn't even go back to like the 1600s and the 1500s. I'm up here in the 1800s and the 1900s. Let's go down. Squatters, and look at this shit here. Squatters and casual laborers, so they say. So when they say that they took the land and they used the indigenous people for cheap labor, this is the stuff that they was doing. This is the stuff that they was doing to the people of that land. Squatters and casual laborers, right? And this is what they made of them. So a press gang of Kenyan laborers worked to lay railroad bedding under white supervisors. So as you see here, you see the African people, the indigenous people of the land, being forced to work tirelessly, day in and day out, and they're being supervised by the cracker. And you can see the cracker standing there watching, forcing them to do this labor. British authorities turned natives into laborers with terrifying efficiency that they had practiced in colonies all over the world for a century. So they had already came in trained killers, trained mercenaries. They already knew how to go in and just kill. So they went to an indigenous Aboriginal people and just went in and just started causing destruction and despair and forced them through fear to carry out the things that they wanted them to carry out. And this is okayed and sanctioned by the British Empire. The first step involved importing huge numbers of foreigners to disrupt the local tribes' balance of power. In practice, that meant transporting thousands of Indians and other Asian laborers to the EPA for work projects all over the country. That's why to this day in Kenya, you have a lot of Asians and people from India still there on the land today. And that was because the British Empire forced a lot of them into the country. This deprived locals of work in the towns and made them more desperate for jobs the British had for them to do. It also focused native resentment squarely on Indians, and not the actual people that was perpetuating the trouble, rather than on white administrators who had them shipped in. Sound familiar? Sound familiar to more like an American story? How you have all these immigrants being shipped in and coming to America, and we get mad at them for taking our jobs, but we don't get mad at the U.S. government, the culprits that has their hand in the shit that they're doing. The EAP government then began explorating large tracts of land in the highlands with or without compensation, and evicting people whose ancestors lived there for thousands of years. Sound familiar? They've been doing this to Aboriginal people on all the continents forever. The British set up reservations to house the newly landless peasants, which quickly got crowded and overtaxed the marginal lands that were sited on. Here we go. Given these conditions, an internal refugee crisis was well underway by 1910. Masses of Native people, most of them whom had no connection to their reservations or no reasons to stay, started drifting out of their pens and across their old lands in search of income. The roughly 1,000 British settlers now had around 16,000 square miles of prime farmland under their control, and their cheap labor came to them looking for work. So they orchestrated this thing through warfare. But again, all of this was sanctioned by the British Empire. To manage these refugees, the British established 3 tiers of labor: squatter, contract, and casual, and gave each its own privilege and obligations. At this time, the British were only farmers around 5 to 6% of the land they had seized. They classified watch this. Does this sound familiar? They classified any native, Kikuyu, or loyal farmer caught sneaking back onto the land to start a garden as a squatter. Wait a minute. Shit. All right. As a squatter, he could stay there, but the cost wait a minute, but at the cost of 270 days of unpaid labor per year as rent, days which correspond to the planting and harvest seasons. So this is, I'm not going to read all of this because I want to get into the other ones, but this is basically showing you what they did when they came into Kenya, and how they basically took Kenya over. And I'm gonna go down a little bit because I want to really further. I want to get to how they basically they extracted billions of dollars out of Kenya, and that's just one country in Africa. Contract labor, those who signed agreements to leave their reserves and work for the British planters. But see, they didn't decide to do anything; they were forced to do it through warfare. The British came and destroyed and killed off these people. The UN, not the UN. Well, you didn't even have the UN or the United Nations at that time, because that was after World War I and World War II. This was before World War I and World War II. But the world watched and did nothing. They came in and they looked at these people as peasants, and they destroyed and killed them and wiped them out. Totally wiped them out. And they created the conditions for these people to be dependent upon them. So this is why casual laborers were cheap scabs for major road building projects and other intern work around the colony. They became wholly dependent on British wages for their living and owned virtually nothing. Regardless of tier throughout the British rule, natives who transgressed against any of the 1,000 unwritten rules were routinely flogged, sometimes at the order of the Crown Court, and sometimes the settlers' own initiative. And acts of open rebellion were routinely put down with hangings. So it sounds familiar to what they did to our people here. Furthermore, to keep all of this straight, the British imposed a pass system called Kenepe, a paper document that all native African males over 15 had to wear around their necks. The Kenepe listed the workers' classification level and included a few notes about the men's history and character. Wow. So that any police or farm official would know at a glance whether he could be trusted with the job or should be hauled off to jail for another whipping. So these are the people, restrictions. This is pictures of the people, what they did in Kenya. These are the people walking with numbers on their bodies. where they're numbered, restrictions and legal challenges. So while y'all are real happy watching the wedding on TV, you're seeing Prince Harry and all the Prince devils and the King devils and all this shit. This is what they was doing to our people. So every last black person that was there, they let you know where they stand. They are traitors to black people. I'm not gonna cuss. I'm not gonna get loud. I'm just gonna teach. I'm gonna stay calm and get the message across. I wish I had more people in the chat. I know it's a Saturday night, but this is something that you guys need to tune into and see, because it's something that's not going to be taught in the schools. It's a story that's not going to be told. But if you notice, the stories are similar. Captured suspected Mau Mau fighters marched towards Gaddafi Court in Kenya at the time of the Mau Mau uprising against British colonial rule in April 1953. None of this happened without resistance from the native people. The Kikuyu were then the largest and strongest tribe in the colony, and they made life difficult for the settlers in whatever ways they could. From individual acts of secret sabotage to the rare open revolt by one or another faction of the tribe, the Kikuyu kept pressure on the British to renegotiate. Some of the harsh terms that they had set for the colony. Some Kikuyu even hired lawyers and sued the crown over the uncompensation land grab. The British dominated Kenya's High Court. Kenya's High Court heard the case in 1921 in the opinion of the judges. Now watch this. This is the opinion of the judges, because the Kikuyu tried to go to court with the devil. This judgment is now widely known to Africans in Kenya, and it has become clear to them that without their being previously informed or consulted to their rights in their tribal land, whenever community or individual have disappeared in law and have been suspended by the rights of the crown. In other words, finders keepers, losers weepers. Basically, we can come in and take it. Nobody said who's this land, and y'all don't have something that we have to respect. As the legal avenues for the cross as strangle routes open for settlers who grew to hate and fear their own workers. All right, I'm gonna read a little bit more and I'm gonna go into the next one. All right, watch this. For a time in the 1920s, two populations relationships resembled a slow burning war of attrition. Black servants who spent the day serving gin and tonics or morphine concentrate, which was also popular in the EAP, to their white employers, might after dark be the very cuckoos who snuck out of the hamstrings of the master's cattle into the field. The white landowners retaliated with repressive law strippings, even more rights from the natives, and taxing them into penury, as strangle whippings and murders came frequently. All right, hold on. Here you can see, wow. Here you can see a cracker devil. He has a pistol pointed at the chest of an indigenous Kenyan in Kenya as they was taking the land with fear. You can see these devils pointing a gun, threatening with fear, killing the beginnings of armed resistance. So this is just one of the stories of what they did, deprived of their lands and their rights, squeezed out of the economy, and herded into reservations that had become a little more than rural ghettos. The Kikuyu began organizing throughout the 1930s and 40s. Tribal leaders circulated petitions and organized boycotts to pressure the British into making concessions to their people. The advocacy groups demonstrated the lead strikes, but colonial authorities counter almost every move they made. The British imposed a strict surveillance state in which any black could be stopped and questioned or searched for any reason, and they began to cultivate Kikuyu allies with grants of land and other inducements to provide intelligence on their kinsmen, increasingly secretive political operations. So that means that you had coons and sellouts and traitors. These collaborators were exceptionally effective in exposing and crackling open liberation movements. You had that in every country. And so they became the principal targets of the Kikuyu's hate. Let's go down. Let me just read this one part. Members swore to fight off, sabotage, and kill their oppressors, and keep the secret of the society unto death. The oath takers called themselves the Kenyan Land of Freedom, the KLFA, but the British authorities came to call them the Mau Mau. Then in 1952, a vehemently pro-British Kikuyu chief named Warhulu was shot to death in his car. His death was all the excuse that the new governor, Evelyn Barron, who had arrived in Kenya all 3 days earlier, needed to declare an emergency and impose martial law on the Kikuyu areas. So as they proposed martial law, this is what happened. This is a picture what the British Empire was doing in Kenya. I didn't get to South Africa yet. I didn't get to South Africa yet. And this is what they were doing. As you can see, at the top it says terror and counter-terror. So once they enacted martial law, they just went back to killing. Survivors gathered victims of a massacre, suspected Mau Mau fighters. The British in the colony had limited options for dealing with the Mau Mau. The group had spent years organizing underground, and none of the captured fighters seemed willing or able to provide useful intelligence about the higher up informants. So this is the fighting that was going on in hold on, look at this shit, man. This is the fighting that was going on in Kenya. This here is a picture of mass arrest, public executions. When they actually caught some of the fighters here, you can see the cracker devil, the British people. So here you can see the they got them on their knees, even children. They got their hands in the air, and these people were executed. British Home Guards hold suspected rebels under guard during a mass arrest. So these were suspected rebels. But how the fuck are they rebels in their own land? These are the fucking rebels. These are the rebels in their own land. Man. Hold on. So, hold on. Yeah, I'm not going to read the whole thing. This is here's independence and inaction. Apologize for the British Gulag in Kenya. Pay up. Here you go. Pay up for the British Gulag in Kenya in solidarity with whatever that say. Apologize. So these are the Kenyan people basically saying, listen, y'all motherfuckers owe us. Elderly survivors gather at the Crown Court of London in 2011 to press for reparations. Hope that sound familiar, y'all. Hope this sound familiar. I mean, they asking for reparations. All of this transpired against the backdrop of increasingly extreme propaganda in Britain and America. The BBC and Times of London breathlessly reported the names of every white civilian killed during the Mau Mau. But see, that's mind control. They named all the names of the whites killed, about 200. But what about the thousands? They barely uttered a word about the approximately 11,000 Kikuyu who were outright murdered in 8 years of the conflict, much less than 150,000 who died in the camps. Man. So these are the things that went on. In 1999, a group of survivors formed a trust saw $5 billion in compensation for victims of the genocide. Nothing came from this, But in 2002, another group presented 6,000 sworn affidavits attesting to British crimes and demanding compensation. See, but all of this shit should have came out during this fucking wedding. In response, the British government denied responsibility and put the blame on the current Kenyan government, citing as legal treaties over whatever this shit say, martial law in Jamaica in 1860. It's just all a bunch of shit. But I want to so I'm gonna go back up. I'm gonna go back up real quick, and this what I started out with when I came on. I came on and I was showing the inside the British genocide in East Africa on the people of Kenya, right? So as we move on, we go to where I want to go. Let's see. Do I want to go here? No, not yet. I don't want to go there yet. I'm gonna go to South Africa. There was a South African king in 2015. He demanded compensation from the British royal family. I wonder why none of these stories came up. As you guys in the chat or you guys that are watching, you actually can see. Right. You actually can see South African King of Zulus, Goodwill, I can't say his name, demands compensation from the British royal family. And I mean, you know, I'm not understanding why these stories don't come up. So I could easily get mad, cuss and holler and scream, but for what? For what, Janice? What I'm gonna get mad? What am I mad and hollering and screaming for? We just got to bring the information out. Let's get to it. Zulu King Goodwill said he wants the British family to offer compensation for the destruction of his ancestral home in the 19th century. King Goodwill said the Zulu people are due compensation after the British Army destroyed his great-grandfather's Odeni Palace in 1879 during the British campaign to impose authority on the Zulu Empire. The outspoken monarch, why would he be outspoken? He's speaking up. We all should be outspoken. The outspoken monarch said he felt no grievance towards the British ruler who had destroyed the palace, but that it would be nice if the English kingdom would one day compensate us. It should be understood that I am an enemy with them. The South African newspaper Mercury reported the king made the comments at a ceremony for Ashwaubenon Heritage Village, a new Zulu cultural which costs approximately 30 million rand to hold a new royal palace. A spokesman for the British royal family told the IB Times that the king's goodwill statements were not a matter of the royal household to comment on. It's what a joke. Comment on, and the issue was one for the British government. The king's comments have not been taken over seriously by historians in South Africa who pointed out that the British royal family had little to do with the British. But see, this is the coon shit. Had little to do with the British Army's campaign against Zululand. It had all to do. But this is where you divide and conquer, and you put you still have control of the country, and you put black people in power that use your talking points that you want to. The king knew exactly what he was saying. The genocide that was committed in South Africa by the British Empire is unthinkable. Historian Ken Gillens told the Mercury that the British family did not sanction the Anglo-Zulu War in 1879, and it had been and that it had been waged at the will of the British High Commissioner in Cape Town and the Commander-in-Chief of South Africa, Sir Bartley Furry. But see, the British royal benefited from it. They try to say that the British House was unaware of the decision to invade Zululand. Yes, they were. The British government and the royal empire is all complicit. And that empire raked billions and trillions of dollars off of the destruction of those people. Here we go. So it will probably be a little unfair to expect them to compensate the Zulu people when Queen Victoria was in all likely unaware. So she was unaware of what her people, of what they sanctioned to go into South Africa was doing to the South African people. I bet you they was aware of that fucking money that was coming in. King Zweli, who has 6 wives and 28 children, is as a unifying figure among South African Zulus. The country's largest ethnic group is known for his often less than diplomatic remarks. Why would he have diplomatic remarks? Fuck your diplomatic remarks. He has been seen to stoke racial tension between Zulus and foreigners in South Africa with a series of xenophobic comments at the commentary. Meaning, how can it be xenophobic comments? I'm not understanding. You're in foreign land. You came into foreign land and killed people and took the land. But see, this is the mind control shit that they do. They'll have you reading it and they'll say that he's outspoken. They'll say that he's xenophobic. You're in my house. You're in my house. In January 2012, the king made statements against same-sex relationships and was criticized by President Jacob Zuma over the comment. Well, we've seen now that Jacob Zuma has soon changed his opinions. This was in 2012. In 2018, Jacob Zuma is now kicking the cracker the hell out. He's changed his stance because this is an older thing. So this is a story. This is a story about the king of the Zulus basically telling the British royal family, "You owe me." So I mean, I can go on and on and on. I'm gonna go to another story. Before I actually get to the wedding, I just wanted to cover these stories first and then get to the wedding. I want to cover these stories. So now where I want to go? I want to go to let's go here. Let's go here. The grim photos show the U.S. and British eugenics movement during its heyday. Oh, man. The grim during its heyday. Some people are born to be a burden on the rest. And these are pictures of the British and Eugenics Society. When one thinks about eugenics, they usually associate the term with the horrible crimes of Nazi Germany and their unfounded and terrible ideas of race and purity. But the practice and advocacy of eugenics have a long history. Decades before the rise of Hitler, the Eugenics Society was advocating the forced sterilization of undesirable people in the U.S., Britain, and Western Europe. And when you talk about the American Eugenics Society, the California Eugenics Society, damn, why am I drawing a blank on the goddamn man's name? It'll come to me in a minute. But you had the American Eugenics Society, and Hitler actually was actually inspired by Madison Grant, who he inspired Hitler to write Mein Kampf. So this is eugenics building here. Wait for the picture to come up. This is them in this is one of the during the time of what they were the shit that they were doing. Let me see. This is a family with rickets to illustrate the they were actually killing and sterilizing and killing these people. This damn thing is like a delay. It's so damn slow. Hold on. All right. In 1907, India passed a sterilization law barring certain categories of disabled people from having children. A similar law was passed in Germany in 1933. In 1938, it had been classified as insane, idonic, Isabel. Man, all right, let me get to Great Britain. Great Britain never had such laws, but the Eugenics Society was very active since its inception in 1907 and tried to pass several pieces of legislation. In 1908, Sir James Brown recommended the compulsory sterilization of those with learning disabilities and mental illness to the Royal Commission. He took this to the Royal Commission. But they said in South Africa that the royal family had nothing to do with destroying the Zulu's home. I call bullshit. He took it to the Royal Commissions on the care and control of feeble-minded. This was supported by Winston Churchill. In 1939, Labor MP Archibald Church put forward a bill very much in line with the eugenics legislation being approved around the world. So this is all the shit. Like I said, they got permission from the Royal Commission family, from the Royal Commission. So this eugenic shit, the Sterilization Act that they had in 1906. Here in America, you had Andrew Carnegie and man, why am I drawing blanks tonight? Ford. Ford. They actually contributed money to the Eugenics Society here in America in 1911, along with Madison Grant and I'm drawing blanks tonight. Henry Ford. Henry Ford. Hold on. Let me get down to shit. I just wanted to just bring this up because I wanted to show I just wanted to show like all the devil shit, all the treachery and devil shit that the British Eugenics Society, the California Eugenics, New York Eugenics Society, and how they were all complicit, and how Madison Grant wrote the book. I told y'all the book is not coming to me right this second, but he inspired Hitler, who wrote Mein Kampf. The California Eugenics Society also inspired Hitler. You had Operation Paperclip, where America and the British government snuck German scientists into their countries and all these different things. So that's just one of the stories. As I move on, I'm gonna go here first. I'm gonna come here. I'll come here and we'll look at the Royal Wedding Celebrity List was filled with Black excellence. Now you hear this bullshit, but this is, like I said, it says that it was filled with Black excellence. Now what I'm not gonna read anything on this yet. I'm gonna show you the people that was there. I'm gonna go into what the British government did in South Africa on mind control. And then I'm gonna come back to this and I'm gonna read this caption again. And I'm gonna show you how they're using mind control to fuck with you. The Royal Wedding Celebrity Guest List was filled with Black excellence. So you have Idris Elba and whoever, I don't know, if that's his woman, his wife, I don't know. You have Oprah Stinking Winfrey as we go down. Yeah, you have Oprah Winfrey. It's a picture of Oprah Winfrey outside the house. Look at it. She cheesing like a motherfucker. Happy as shit. Look at this shit. Hold on. Just fucking keep showing Idris Elba. What's her name? Gina Torres. So you got Gina Torres there. Yeah, let me get past him. Yeah, you got Gina Torres. Yeah, Gina Torres. She was there. Shoot. Let's go down further. You had look at this shit. Serena Williams and her husband. So she worth 154 million, and she go get a white guy that ain't worth shit. Now, I'm gonna get into that. Because this is all mind control. This is all mind control on you. But you got to pay attention to what they do and how and why they do it. Right? This is Serena Williams and her boyfriend, her husband. So they make sure they got the pictures of that. So these were just some people. You had Rihanna there. Now that I showed you guys these pictures, I'm gonna go back up. I'm gonna go back up right to the top. Now, Take it all the way back up to the top. Why does thing so late? It's, and the royal family celebrity guest list was filled with Black excellence, right? That's what it says, right? That's what we see, right? All right, watch this. I'm gonna show y'all. I read this earlier in the last live stream, right? And I'm gonna show y'all what they did in South Africa, right? And then I'm gonna explain y'all what they do TV and media. All right, in 1989, as I was still with the intelligence section, and President P.W. Botha said we must come up with a psychological warfare strategy against the enemy. The enemy was the South Africans. Now, mind you, they said that we must come up with a psychological warfare strategy against the enemy. Everything was coordinated between the Defense Force, National Intelligence, and Foreign Affairs. It was called Covert Strategic Communication Stratcom. McPherson said in the documentary, the enemy that McPherson referred to was clear: anti-apartheid activists. That means that the enemy was the Black people, right? Especially the more left-wing ones like Mandela. McPherson revealed just how the white minority led South African government to maintain institutionalized racism. They went psychological. That wet in those pictures was psychological, family. Remember, they controlled the media. They controlled the imagery. So we know for a fact that 85% of Black men and Black women are married together. You go out to your communities, Black people are married, they are together. But they take celebrities that you worship, that you look up to, that you strive to be like. The same way we want to be like Mike. Remember the commercial? I want to be like Mike. You want to be Michael Jordan. You want to be LeBron James. You want to dress like and get your ass done, get your fake ass and titties done, and be like the women on Basketball Wives and all this. So now they give you the image of Serena Williams with a white man at the royal wedding. That's mind control at its finest. Young Black women and young women of color is watching this shit, and they're intrigued by it. They're catering to your desires. They're messing with your imagination. They're making you imagine that you could be Meghan Markle with this white man, not the man of your tribe, but you could be with this white man. And they present these images inside your mind to make you imagine these things. This is what they're doing. It's mind control at its best. So they'll take a Serena Williams, who's from the ghetto in Compton, worth 150 million, and put her with a so-called poor white man, take her and plant her right in front of the royal wedding, where 60 years ago, they'd have been hanging her Black ass up by her neck. I just showed y'all what they did to the people in Kenya. I didn't even get to South Africa yet. They got Oprah Winfrey over there. Millions of our mothers love Oprah Winfrey and strive to be like Oprah Winfrey. They take these Idris Elba, who all the Black women love, and they use these black people, and they say Black excellence. Now watch this. This is what they did in South Africa, right? They went psychological. They went into the minds of Black people. This was a war strategy. It was called Covert Strategic Communications Stratcom. Covert Communications, Covert Strategic Communications Stratcom. This is what they did in South Africa, and how the minority white South Africans was able to control a whole majority of South Africans. It went psychological because they controlled the media. They controlled the airwaves. They controlled the TV. They controlled the history. Part of the government's plan included using a network of 40 journalists to publish negative reports about Mandela in major news outlets, and dividing the alliances of Black people to their Black leaders, sparking deadly divisions within the Black community. That sounds similar to what's going on here in America. And what they're doing with this, marriage, Meghan Markle has a white mom, but her white mom married a white man. Meghan Markle was married before, but she was married to a white man. They haven't been part of the black struggle or the black community in years. It's psychological warfare. And this is the shit that they're doing, man. Psychological warfare. They're using media and they're using stars. That Hollywood shit is bullshit, is an illusion. It's not real. They sell an illusion to your mind to make you live vicariously through the system that they're feeding you. So now you're giving your spirituality over to it by vicariously making them rich. They're getting rich off of your spirituality because you're giving them your attention and your time. You're emulating the stars. You're wanting to be like the stars. I want to be like Mike. I want to be like LeBron James. I want to be like Shaquille O'Neal. I want to be like the movie star. I want to be Captain America. I want to be all these different things. They plant this stuff inside your mind and they take control of your desires. So now they're making it fashionable for black women to want to be with a white man because they done conditioned your mind to make you believe that it's okay. Where now you done already forgotten about all the historical events that they've done to our people and still do today. But we're so blinded by this mind control, you'll go right over to a white man. You brothers will go right over to a white woman with ease. You'll turn around and say you hate your black woman. You can't deal with her. You rather deal with the oppressor's woman. You rather deal with the oppressor's children. And this is what they've done. That's why they're going to make sure they plaster the pictures of Serena Williams, the big, thick black woman with the fat ass that every black man wanted to fuck. Guess what? She fucking a cracker now. Straight from Compton. Mind control, family. Pay attention well. Pay attention. And I'm reading you guys this story because this is something active and a tactic and what they told you that they did. Psychological warfare. So those 40 journalists in South Africa were black people. You couldn't use white people to do it because we would suspect the white people to throw curveballs. So they use black people. This high level confession confirms suspicion that many black South Africans already had, as it has sparked a national conversation that can be followed right now on South Africa's social media. So when I tell you that they use in South Africa, they use covert strategic communications STRATCOM. Covert strategic Omawale. Big bro, they use covert strategic communication STRATCOM. McPherson said in the documentary. This is what they use. Psychological warfare, MK Ultra home base. So if we know that they did that, let me go back now that I read that to you. Now look at this again. Look at these images. Images speaks louder than words. Because words has meaning and become things, but images goes into your subconscious mind. Images goes into your imagination. The royal wedding celebrity guest list was filled with black excellence. It wasn't filled with black excellence. It was filled with black degeneracy. Black people that has totally sold out. Black people that's having MK Ultra used on their mind. Black people that absolutely have no honor for their ancestry. Absolutely none. This is not black. If this is black excellence, then hey, man. So like I said, I can get mad. I can holler. I can scream. This brother right here is from England or London or whatever you want to say. He is descendant of black Africans. He knows Eric B. Kwesi. He knows his family's history. He understands the wretched and the destructive behavior of the British royal family. But he still will attend because our people are so culturally ignorant today. We would do anything for a check and for attention in the cameras. Beware of the sellouts. They represent those 40 journalists like they did in South Africa to divide the people. So when you see these images, you got young black girls saying, this is so beautiful. Oh, I wish it was me. I want to be a part of this. It's mind control, all mind control. They show you these images. Oprah Winfrey. Oprah Winfrey is a beloved black woman by all our mothers. So our mothers watch this shit and they make sure they show you images of Oprah because Oprah has totally sold out to the other side. Oprah knows this history. Oprah's had also black people just craves validation and acceptance from these crackers. Absolutely. Absolutely. And they use black celebrity to further influence the minds of the people. The media and TV is the biggest and most powerful mind influence and mind control mechanism ever used. This is why they give you commercials and the rap music and it got you going crazy and making music about killing yourself and killing your own people, but not your enemy. Because they saturated your mind with this debauchery behavior. Now they got black celebrities all at the British wedding. And I just showed you what the British Empire did in Kenya. I just showed you how they committed on the Kikuyu people and the Mau Maus. I showed you what they did. I'm ready going on Cecil Rose in a second, but I had to come here because I had to show you just what they did. So you got stinking ass Oprah Winfrey out here doing what she do. Remember, Oprah Winfrey, Janice Wax. Oprah Winfrey still has yet to call out Harvey Weinstein. She still has yet to call out Harvey Weinstein. It's funny how you got people making memes and jokes about Bill Cosby, calling Bill Cosby guilty, saying all kinds of bullshit, going after him. But yet and still, I ain't see none of you black motherfuckers. I said I wasn't going to cuss and get mad. I haven't seen none of you black traitors call out that white woman that accused Emmett Till of looking at her and got Emmett Till killed. I haven't seen nobody make any memes about her. I haven't seen anybody call for her to be arrested and prosecuted. But y'all call out and make memes about Bill Cosby. I can't even trust black people. We are traitors. We are traitors to each other. Harvey Weinstein hasn't been arrested yet. Have y'all heard about Taraji P. Henson and Halle Berry's manager and his sex schemes that he was running? That's gonna be my next live stream I'm gonna do tomorrow morning. Nobody, they haven't been arrested and called out, but for some reason, we go after our own people without a heartbeat. White man ain't even got to go after our own people. We tear our own people down quick. But then we go and we support these devils and demons. We quick to be subordinate, forgive and forget. And they use black celebrities like these to further influence your mind, man. Mind control. Look at this. Black excellence. This ain't no damn black excellence. Look at her. They make sure they're going to show this. They make sure that they're going to show this here. Yeah, I'm a research it. Stratcom Alpha Air Force Base. I'm on it. I'm a research it tonight. But this is mind control here, family. I want y'all to understand something. This is mind control at its finest. I want you guys, we have to learn to understand warfare. We have to learn to understand what they're doing. All the young girls that like Serena, that strive to be like Serena Williams, this is the new thing. Go get you a white man. It's not working out with that brother. That brother rejects you. He say you ain't shit. He left you with the baby. He beat you. Go get this guy. He'll treat you right. He'll be subordinate to you. Mind control, family. We gotta wake up. This is mind control at its finest. Look, she's so happy. Her life has changed. She's no longer with Common. She's no longer with the black men that she's dated. She finally has a smile on her face. She finally has a smile. She went and got the peckerwood. She ain't getting pounded as good as she used to with the brothers, but she happy because he's nice to her. He's nice to her. She went and got the peckerwood. He holding her arm and he does whatever she says. This is mind control at its finest. If you think for a second that them crackers Want them black people there at the wedding, you done lost your fucking mind. You done lost your mind. Look at it. Look, look, look. They make sure that they make sure that they plaster these pictures. She's so happy. She's so happy. She's made it. She's arrived. She's even more happy than all the success she's had being a tennis player. She's more happy than all the money she's made. She's happy with that white guy. She's finally arrived. Life for her is grand. This is mind control, family. This is mind control. Now watch this. Oh, man. Oh, shit. All right, hold on. Okay, yeah, here we go. Adding color to the royal family doesn't wipe out their debts to black people. Yeah, I agree. R. Kelly, Jay-Z, Chris Brown, T.I. also. They all, I'm doing a live stream on that, the end of Black Celebrity. Now watch this. Adding color to the royal family doesn't wipe out their debts to black people. Well, for some reason, the black excellence that showed up there seems like to me, Eric B. Quasi, that their debts to black people has been wiped out because it looks like the black celebrity has forgiven them. And if the black celebrity forgives them, you know, George, I was born in Ghana, and this makes me sick to my stomach knowing that these British did to my land stealing resources. Absolutely. Absolutely. But it seems like to me, Brother Eric, that they're forgiven. So I'm not going to holler and scream. What I'm doing now, Brother Eric, is I'm just bringing out the facts. I'm just showing the facts. And see, the thing is, if I'm not being polarizing or going crazy, a lot of people probably won't tune in because now I'm being calm so I can actually read this stuff and teach it. It's kind of boring to the people. But I think that our people, we need to see this. We need to understand exactly what these cracker demons did. So let's read. Let's go in. The British royals may be set to welcome a black member into their family, but that doesn't mean that they're off the hook for hundreds of years of colonizing and enslaving Africans and dark-skinned people around the globe, all while amassing a ton of wealth in the process. Sorry to be the one to throw cold water on recent announcements, Prince Harry and Meghan Markle's engagement, but somebody has to do it. So for one, despite the media craze surrounding Markle, a biracial African American actor would not be the first royal of African descent. There was Philip of Hainaut, 1314 to 69, the Queen Consort of Edward III, and Queen Charlotte, in 1744 and 1818, who was a descendant from the black branch of the Portuguese royal family, whose namesakes are the cities of Charlotte, North Carolina, wow, and Charlottesville. I didn't even know that, so I'm gonna have to read that again for those of y'all that might not have gotten that. It says that Queen Charlotte, 1744 and 1818, whose was the descendant of the black branch of the Portuguese royal family, and whose namesakes are the cities of Charlotte, North Carolina, Charlottesville, Virginia. Harry's grandmother, Queen Elizabeth II, is the great grandmother of Queen Charlotte, the first black queen of England. Here's a picture of Queen Charlotte. Here she go. And they sort of like whitewashed her out. As we go down, this is Queen Charlotte. Oh, it's just so slow. Yeah. This is Queen Charlotte here. And they sort of whitewashed her out, and they tried to erase her from history. The view, Queen Charlotte Sophia of England, wife of George III, African descent. So this is her, and unarmed people, children, and women, right? Before you genocide people, you must, right? So this is the Queen, Queen Charlotte. Look at this shit here. Oh my God! Look at these devils. This old decrepit bitch right here looks scary, man. Look at this shit. Look at this one right here, man. She looks like a demon. She looks just like a demon. Let's go down. All right, one should not overlook the optics and the symbolism of having a woman of color as a member of a family that represents a most conspicuous and potent symbol of white European wealth and power. Surely the white supremacist that Trump retweets, the Britain first crown, those who embrace Brexit and assimilated a member of parliament are reacting to the news with horror and rage. Hold on, let me go there because they're not talking what I wanted. All right, here we go. All right, the British royal family presided over the exploitation of untold millions of people in Africa, India, and around the world. Britain's national wealth and riches of the royal family were built off the backs of slaves, making the Industrial Revolution possible. The Duke of York and his brother Charles II founded the Royal African Company. An English slave trading company was founded by the Duke of York and his brother King Charles II. Britain dominated the international slave trade, and its raping and pillaging of West Africa was highly profitable for the royal family. According to the National Archives, between 1640 and 1807, Britain transported an estimated 3.1 million Africans to its colonies in the Caribbean, North and South America, and other countries. Of that number, 2.7 million arrived. When Britain abolished slavery in 1833, the country paid its 46,000 slave owners the modern day equivalent of 17 billion, US 23 billion in compensation, representing 40% of the government's annual expenditures and the largest bailout of British history until the 2009 bank bailout. Those families and their present day descendants became wealthy from the enslavement of Black people. Meanwhile, 800,000 Africans, mostly working in the Caribbean plantations. Now, mind you, mostly working in the Caribbean, not North America, not the North American Negro. Are y'all listening? Not the North American Negro. Mostly 800,000 Africans, mostly working in the Caribbean and plantation, received not a penny and were forced to work as low-wage apprentices for their former masters until 1838. According to Dr. Robert Beckford, a British academic theologian, Britain owes the Caribbean a total of 7.5 trillion, US 10.1 trillion, which includes an estimate 5.4 trillion is stole from the region of unpaid labor. See, this shit that I'm talking about, man, of unpaid labor, 2.5 trillion, US 3.4 trillion, and unjust enrichment to the British colony, and another 1 trillion and 1.2 trillion in pain and suffering. They would never pay that. They would never pay that. But this is the stuff this is for the people that they transported to the Caribbean, because the majority of the ones transported to South America came in by the Portuguese. But the British that brought them here, some to the Americans and the majority to the Caribbeans, they owe us. The British royal family owe us, and they're not going to pay us. The British did not want to pay reparations, opting for an emphasis on trade and cooperation with Jamaica and its former colonies in the Caribbean. The CARICOM member states that states have a 10-point plan to seek slavery reparations from European nations for the region's indigenous and African descendants communities who were the victims of crime against humanity in the form of genocide, slavery, slave trading, and racial apartheid. The British royal family owes Black people untold wealth for African slavery and colonism, and the millions of Black lives lost. Their debts are not wiped out simply because Meghan Markle is wearing a crown. But I don't know. All that Black excellence is there for some reason. It seems like it is wiped out. It seems like Black people it seems like Black people to me, they decide to forgive and forget, Eric B. It seems like they forgot that they decided to forgive and forget, man. They decided to Black people decided to move on. To me, that's what it seemed like. A leader for Christ. It seems like with all the money that's owed, you know, meanwhile, the 800,000 Africans, mostly working in the Caribbean plantations, received not a penny and were forced to work as low apprentices for their former masters into 1838. So it's telling me that they said that they brought, where is it? It says that it brought, from 1640 to 1807, Britain transported an estimated 3.1 million Africans to its colonies in the Caribbean, North and South America, and other countries. Of that number, 2.7 million arrived. How many arrived in North America? When you see the North American Negro. Oh, but that's for another live stream. So let me go into Cecil Rhodes real quick. And this thing moving slow as shit. What's going on with the computer? Here we go. Look at this double. Eric B. Quasi, you familiar with this double here? You familiar with this guy, Cecil Rhodes and the De Beers Genocide Diamonds. Cecil Rhodes, a bad man in Africa. The evil that men do lives after them. Rarely more miserably than in the case of Cecil Rhodes, who died 100 years ago this month. Look at this guy, man. Let me get to it. North of the Zambezi, they have long known about the suppression of free speech, about the bloody redistribution of land along racial lines, about politicians happy to employ armed and sometimes uniformed mobs to kill their opponents. They are, mind you, this is the British Empire. They are practices imported to this region along with the railroads by the British. Unlike the African press, the Western media rarely invoked the name of Cecil Rhodes. Nearly a century after his death on March 26, 2002, his name is more associated with Oxford scholarships than with murder. It's easy to focus on the region's more recent, less Anglo-white supremacist Ian Smith, for instance, who, despite his Scottish background, seems to be cut from the same stuff as those Afrikaner politicians who nurtured and maintained apartheid farther south. But it was Rhodes who originated the racist land grabs to which Zimbabwe's current miseries can be traced. It was Rhodes, too, who in 1887 told the House of Assembly in Cape Town that the native people is to be treated as a child denied the franchise. We must adopt a system of despotism in our relations with the barbarians of South Africa. In less oratorial moments, he even put it more bluntly, I prefer land to niggers. So for much of the century since his death, Rhodes has been revered as a national hero. Today, however, he is closer to a national embarrassment, about whom the less is said, the better. Yet there are plenty of memorials to him to be found. All right, so let's get down to what he did. Let me scroll down some so we can get down to what he was doing to the people. All right. All right. The persecution is strong. Rhodes connived his way to wealth in a lawless frontier culture, then used that fortune to fund a private invasion of East Africa. He brought newspapers in order to shape and control public opinion. He brokered secret deals, issued bribes, and used gags of mercenaries to butcher his opponents, seizing close to a million square miles of territory from inhabitants. Although he did the same thing, although he did this in the name of the British Empire, he was regarded with some suspicion in his own home country. No, he wasn't. And when it suited him to work against the British imperial interests, he, by slipping 10,000 to Parnell Irish nationalists, for example, he did so without scruple. Rhodes was born in the summer of 1853, the fifth son of a parson who provided himself on never having preached a sermon longer than 10 minutes. And fuck what he was born on. Let's get to what he did. The pair soon became involved in the rush to exploit South Africa's diamond and gold deposits. And unlike many prospectors and speculators who wandered days luckless around the continent, their claim proved fruitful. Yeah, this dude right here, he made Hitler seem like a Boy Scout. You're right. When Rhodes began his studies in the Oriel College, he returned to South Africa each vacation to attend his mining interests, which by mid-30s had made him, in today's terms, a billionaire. By 1891, he had amalgamated the De Beers mine under his control, giving him domination over 90% of the world's diamond output. He had also secured two other important positions: Prime Minister of the British Cape Colony and President of the British South African Company, an organization that was formed in the manner of the old East Indian companies. And we know that the African company, they was up in Kenya destroying Kenya. To pursue expansionist adventures for which sponsoring governments did not have the stomach to cash. The result of his endeavors produced new British annexation in Malawi, northern Rhodesia, now Zambia, and southern Rhodesia, now Zimbabwe. So they went into Zimbabwe and basically wiped it out, and they changed it from Rhodesia to let's see. They changed it from Zimbabwe to Rhodesia. So this is a depiction of him. This is the depiction of the White Devil, in all his splendor, as they would say. Let's go down. Rhodes imprinted his personality on the region with monarchical energy. Dams, railroad engines, towns, and anti-dandruff tonics were all named after him. But his expansion and zeal was not always matched at home in Britain. Our burden is too great, Gladstone grumbled. We have too much, Mr. Rhodes, to do. So let me get to where he was committing genocide on the people, because he killed so many people. Let me scroll down. Give me 1 second, y'all. This it has a lot of stuff in here, and I actually had it, but I lost it going into all the other stuff. I can't even find it. They show how many people he actually was responsible for murdering. I might have to come back. Basically, in this story of Cecil Rhodes, it's basically telling you how him and the Oppenheimer family, the De Beers family, how they basically said Rhodes' fatal heart attack in 1900, the death was noticeable. Yeah. I'm gonna come back and I'm gonna come back and actually do more of a story on him because I actually got to set it. I don't have it set up like I got everything else, but this is like pictures of the blood diamonds and all the places that they did. Africa and all its resources are the birthright. Africa and all its resources are the birthright of African people everywhere. All diamonds are blood diamonds. The U.S. invasion and occupation of Iraq has forced us to recognize the terrible price paid by peoples around the world, the oil reserves necessary for right. And the Niger Delta, the Nigerian people are living in dire poverty and are fighting shale oil for control. So basically, this right here basically is telling you all the U.S. and European controlled chocolate industry in Africa and a bitter reality. Ivory Coast produces 40% of the world's cocoa, and in West Africa, there are more than 250,000 young African children working in enslavements and cocoa plantations. All chocolate is blood chocolate. Wow. Now hearing this, all chocolate is blood chocolate. In Congo, 5 million people have been killed in the past few years in U.S. and imperialist backed wars over coltan, the mineral that is in the electrical conductor necessary for cell phones and computers. 80% of the world's coltan is in the Congo. So we all say all computers and cell phones are blood computers and blood cell phone. Coltan worth over $400 a pound in the world, where 1.7 people have wireless phones out of every 4 on the planet. Child labor, murder, dire poverty, and a few days. Wow, this is what's going on in the Congo for coltan. I'm gonna come back and I'm gonna read. I'm gonna do when I do my next live stream. I'm gonna actually keep this because I'm gonna read all this to every. I'm gonna go over this. So I don't have enough time to go over it all. Let me share my screen. I just wanted to just share. Did I do this here? Yeah, I did that. I just wanted to just come here and basically just talk about talk to you guys about the British royal family and their dirty, devilish deeds, and how you have people in South Africa that's fighting back. I'm gonna go further in on the Cecil Rhodes thing, but I don't have it all in front of me. But this was the King of Zulus basically saying the royal family owes them compensation. I read the story about how they owe us in the Western Hemisphere compensation for slavery. The British royal family. They allow Cecil Rhodes. I read to you guys. I showed you guys. Basically, when I first started, I showed you guys the imperialism that they brought to Kenya and how they was killing off basically killing off the Kenyan people. As you can see here, British genocide in East Africa. And this was all funded by the Cecil Rhodes people, which they started in South Africa. I showed you guys how they used the covert strategic communication stratcom to do psychological warfare on Black people in South Africa. They're doing the same thing on us here in the Americas. So I'm about to get off. I didn't want to be on here long, but I just want me to stop sharing for a minute so I can come back and I can see the people. Many people can actually see me. So yeah, I'm not gonna be before the people long, but I just wanted to just come and just show you the destruction from the British Empire and what they did to people, man, around the planet. You know, they owe us. They owe Africans in East Africa, South Africa, West Africa. You know, the British Empire was putting West Africans in zoos. People from Cameroon and Guinea, they was putting them in zoos. They came and they revamped and revised our whole story. You got a lot of North American Negroes that was aboriginal to these lands, and they lied, reclassified you, and told you that you came from a land when they brought you here on slave ships. When you came here we came here long before any written European history. They don't want to tell you that. They don't want to deal with that history. They brought slaves here from West Africa and brought them to the Carolinas and to the East Coast. They brought slaves to the Caribbean, and they never paid them for all that cheap labor. The royal family got rich off of this. This is stuff that's not being told. It did so many different things, man. that they're not telling our people. And I just wanted to just come and just bring this is just some little information. I didn't even bring all of it, because tonight, as I accumulate more of my information together, I'm gonna go live again, and I'm gonna really go in on the Cecil Rose thing. I'm gonna go in on King Leopold. I'm gonna go in on the Oppenheimer family. So I'm gonna really go in, and I'm gonna deal with the Leakey family and deal with all these different groups, the Huxleys, all these different groups, and what they was doing in Africa. What they was doing in Africa. I'm a correlated with the eugenic societies in America and Britain, and show you how the British Empire got rich, and tell them black people do not get caught up in this bullshit, because they got a so-called Meghan Markle because she decided to get married to the damn enemy, the damn devil, the serpent. So like I said, man, I'm about to get up out of here. Remember, man, I love my people more than they hate themselves. And I pray to the universal creator most high that these words was enough to inspire you. These words was enough to make you look at yourself in the mirror and make change. These words was enough to make you look at your children and know you have to make change. I pray that this information was enough to make you begin to do your own research and teach your children to not be enamored by the stuff that you see on TV, to not be enamored by the stuff that you hear on the radio, to not be enamored by the stuff that you see on YouTube, to not be enamored by this bullshit that you see that's going on out within the society. You have to begin to think for yourself. Get back control of your imagination. Get back control of your desires. Make sure that you're desiring to manifest things that will be benevolent and good for you. Do not get caught up in this fucking fantasized bullshit, because I'm going to show you the death of the black celebrity. There is no black excellence. They're going after everybody. And y'all better wake up, man. This is mind control at its finest, man. So remember, I love y'all. To the next time. Peace, everybody out there.